Welcome to my PowerPoint on Joker Synergies in Balatro. Now, before I get into the video, I want to talk about the fact that for this video, I'm mainly doing two Joker Synergy combo synergies because of the fact that there's just 150 Jokers in Balatro. If I were to try to talk about 3 or more combo synergies, it would just be too much, and I would have to do a lot more overlap than I really wanted to. On top of the fact that there are just so many of them, and I only really wanted to do a handful for this video because I just want to talk about combinations that I've used that I haven't really seen often in many other people's discussions or videos, and I just think they're really cool. That being said, I don't want to cover, combos that are super well known, like Hangy Chad plus Photograph, Midas Mask plus Vampire. I want to talk about some that are a little more less well known and just still pretty good. Speaking of, we get to start with Astronomer and Campfire. Astronomer, of course, makes it so all planet cards and Celestial packs in the shop are free, and then Campfire makes it so when you sell a card, this Joker gains times 2.5 molt and resets when the blind is defeated. So it should be pretty obvious right away that Astronomer incentivizes you buying things that you can sell for Campfire. If you have a planet voucher and you find an Astronomer or Astronomer planet voucher, etc., you can on average get about 1 planet per shop, and then if you find any of the overstock vouchers, etc., you'll find about 2.5 on average, I find. Which means that if you have these 3 pieces, you can actually go pretty crazy with the amount of scale you can give your Campfire. Astronomer, of course, it makes it so the planets cost 0, but the planets still sell for $1. That means that the only thing you're really spending money on to get this going, aside from the Jokers themselves, is the rolling to get the planets for Campfire. And while that can be pretty expensive if you find any of the reroll vouchers, if you have Chaos the Clown, or if you just have a lot of money, especially because, like I said, you're going to be getting $1 or $2 per reroll back anyway from Astronomer, that's pretty good. I've had a run where I have this combination, and I was able to get my Campfire to pretty much 5x every single round, without even spending that much money, because, yeah, you can just get very lucky with the planets that appear in your shop. Overall, this combination is really strong. Astronomer is definitely an underrated Joker. I underrated it when I first talked about it, for the first time ever. Just the money it gives you is pretty solid, but the fact that it not only gives you money, but also gives you scaling is what I didn't really talk about, because, yeah, you can still just play the planet. You don't have to sell it. So if you're getting these free planets that you want to be using for your poker hand, playing a 5 of a kind or something like that, playing it straight, playing flush, doesn't really matter, then Astronomer, really does show its value. As a money generation option, or just a money option in general, it's solid, but the fact that it really can scale very well, especially with the Campfire, because each level of the planet that you have applies more molt for a Campfire, it's incredibly powerful. And if you have ever, if you get into a situation where you have these 3 pieces, I highly recommend trying to use it. Incredibly, incredibly fun. So, I know I said I wanted to talk about some more obscure combos people don't see all the time, but I mean, I can't not talk about this one. I've brought this one up a handful of times, or especially on stream, where I think that Shoot the Moon Reserve Parking is an incredibly, incredibly powerful early to mid game combo that can carry almost every run. So, Shoot the Moon makes it so each queen held in hand gives plus 13 molt, and Reserve Parking makes it so each face card held in hand has a 1 in 2 chance to give $1. The synergy is blatantly obvious right there. You want to be holding queens in your hand anyway, so Reserve Parking can give you some money. Shoot the Moon is already just a solid early game Joker in general. It's going to give you anywhere between 13 and 52 molt pretty much for until you start to get a lot of extra queens in your deck, and you can do that, and it's not the worst, because if you do just end up with a lot of queens, you can try to transition to 3 of a kind, 4 of a kind, 5 of a kind, which are just very powerful hands in general. So having all those queens isn't the end of the world, on top of the fact that Reserve Parking, it gives you so much money. Those extra queens turn into more money. Reserve Parking does have, it's not a bad Joker by any means, but there are some things you have to play around if you want to make use of it properly. You typically want to use all of your discards in general to get as many face cards in your hand, which works pretty well with Shoot the Moon. You want to get as many queens in your hand. Then Reserve Parking, you just want to play as many hands as possible to farm it as much as possible, and then, win your round. That being said, they do somewhat start to fall off towards the end game, or well, you know, like antes like 6, 7, 8, just because all things considered, getting plus 13 molt per queen isn't that much. However, it is held in hand. That means that steel cards do work with the queens, and the flat molt of the queen triggers before the steel card, which means if you have a bunch of queen steel cards, you just have a bunch of them, you're gonna get plus 13, then times 1.5, plus 13 times 1.5, etc. for every steel queen you have in your hand. It is the same concept as, you know, Baron, right? Baron, especially with Mime, is a very powerful combo. However, queens are flat molt versus barons being times 1.5 additionally, so it doesn't scale nearly as hard. But in these, you know, early, mid, even late game scenarios, if you do find a mine and steel cards, it is still incredibly powerful. And reserve parking, like, it also works with Mime. I don't know why the text is right there now I look at it, but it also works additionally with Mime and reserve parking. This isn't the only way you can use it, of course, but when you're using it with Shoot the Moon, it's just so nice. The runs that I have of this combo together, I almost always win. I think I very rarely have lost using this combo, because just money is so nice, and money is already the #1 most powerful thing in Balatro. So having a powerful early game Joker that basically carries your early game for reserve parking to just get a lot of value is incredible. It's so incredibly nice. Stuntman and Green Joker is an interesting combo. Now, this is one that you definitely have tried before. I would be surprised if many people haven't, but that doesn't mean that it's not powerful and not interesting. Stuntman, of course, gives plus 250 chips with -2 hand size, while Green Joker gives plus 1 molt per hand played and -1 molt per discard. This incentivizes you to play a lot of smaller hands, which, the fact that you're getting plus 250 chips from Stuntman and incremental scaling of molt from Green Joker, doesn't really make it that big of a downside. You can play high card, you can play pair, you could technically play like flushes if your deck is built for it, but I digress. You're gonna have 6 cards in hand on average. You could have 7 or 8 if you find hand size vouchers, or less if you found jokers that lower your hand size, or if you've played like Ectoplasm or Ouija. So anyway, the fact that Stuntman just works so well with Green Joker because of the fact that you don't need to discard. These two jokers want you to just play like a high card or a pair and not really care about what else you're playing, so they can use they can use each other's strengths and weaknesses super well together. I love this combo. This isn't the only way you can do this combo, of course. There's Ride the Bus, there's Supernova. All 3 of those jokers are realistically pretty similar. If you are just playing like high card and you're not going to play face cards anyway, they all kind of do the same thing. So you can swap those in or out as well, but I don't know. Green Joker's my GOAT. It's a really powerful Joker that is definitely slept on, so I want to talk about more today. A big thing, right, is that like just flat chips and flat molt obviously go very well together. Any X molt will make this combo just go crazy. I do believe that if you get your Green Joker early enough, right, like ante 1, ante 2, that this does match gold stake scaling. Like on its own. Of course, if you get like good X mold options or more flat mold or just, I don't even know, then yeah, it will of course outscale it. But I think just these two on their own, as long as you get the Green Joker early enough and you do try and scale it, it can carry your gold stake runs, depending on your deck, of course. It's not going to work on black deck as well as it's going to work on blue deck, right? But you get the idea. This combo, it's fun. Can I tell you guys something? A big part of Balatro is that it's a fun game, and while not every combo that exists needs to be powerful, they do need to be fun to be talked about, and this is an incredibly fun one. If you've ever had runs where you have multiple Stuntmen and something like a Green Joker, or, you know, Ride the Bus, Supernova, etc., you do know that this is so awesome. Playing just one card, you get a bunch of chips, a bunch of molt. Ooh boy. Okay. I do have to admit that I did put Blueprint and Brainstorm on this list because kinda you'd have to, realistically. But I want to talk about their interactions with some jokers that you don't typically see them use with. Blueprint, of course, copies the ability of a joker to the right, but I wanted to talk about Hallucination today. Hallucination has a 1 in 2 chance to create a tarot card when any booster pack is open. Blueprint, of course, does work with Hallucination, which means that if you open any packs, you have a technically, it's a 2 in 4 chance to get a tarot card, a 1 in 4 chance to get 2, and then a 1 in 4 chance to get 0, which that's already just good in general. If you have an oops all 6s, it's 2 guaranteed tarot cards per pack, which is pretty solid. Hallucination is like, it's a very interesting Joker. A lot of its value really does come from gold stake when you introduce rentals, because you can buy it and sell it for $1, right? So, I don't know. That's just cool. Using Blueprint with it, of course, just gives you so many extra tarot cards that can, you know, help you deck build. They can give you money. They can give you scoring power. It's almost like tarot cards are really powerful. That being said, I do know that people probably wanted to see something more interesting for Blueprint, and for I do have Brainstorm on here, so maybe that one would be more interesting for you guys if you do so. Another Joker that, you know, everyone wants to talk about because it does have a lot of synergies is Hangy Chad. So Hangy Chad, of course, makes it so it re-triggers the first played card using scoring 2 additional times. Now, a very powerful combo that I rarely see actually is using it with Golden Ticket, where it will make it so played gold cards earn $4 when scored. Golden Ticket already makes it so that your gold cards give you $1 additional than if you just left them in your hand. Not if you have, but using Hangy Chad makes it so that you get a lot of money. $12 per hand played, as long as you put that gold card first, is incredible. It's an insane amount of money. And, like, that's just for 1 hand played. You could easily play more than 1 hand making use of Golden Ticket. You could also have more gold cards in your hand if you have, like, a Midas Mask to create a lot of gold cards, or you're just really lucky, you have a bunch of deaths, etc. You can get so much money out of this combo, and kind of unreal. This one has definitely carried a lot of runs for me. I'm a big believer that if you find a devil in your shop, you should almost always buy it, right? It costs $3, but then it gives you $3 at the end of your turn, before you even include interest, right? So there's no real downside to buying it almost ever. So having just occasional gold cards in your deck is already powerful enough that it makes it so Golden Ticket can be unlocked in the first place, and you get this incredibly powerful combo. Just in general, I think Golden Ticket is already an incredibly slept on Joker. It's super powerful in the first place. So and Hangy Chad, again, it's a super powerful, commonly used Joker. It's also common. So getting this, it's not like it's hard to get often. It's powerful. It gives you a lot of money, and these are 2 Jokers that you're not upset with finding in the first place. So combining them, oh boy. Okay. So again, we get to loop back to Brainstorm. Brainstorm, of course, copies the ability of the leftmost Joker, but today I want to talk about Burglar. When Burglar is selected, gain +3 hands and lose all discards. When blind is selected. That's insane. You already on average are getting +1 hand compared to how many discards you're losing, because almost every deck aside from red deck starts with 2 discards instead of 3. So Burglar technically doesn't really have that much of a downside. Once they rework blue stake, it probably will be a lot worse, but we're not there yet. Burglar can, however, be copied by any copy effect, including Brainstorm. This is a super powerful combo that I love using. Having 6 additional hands is not only just good for money and good for scoring, but you can get a lot of value generation out of it as well. I already talked about something like Green Joker, which was amazing with Burglar. Imagine Burglar with 6 hands to scale your Green Joker, or your Ride the Bus, or your Supernova, etc. Any of these incrementally scaling Jokers. Now, this isn't the end of it, of course, right? Because you can stack Brainstorm, and you can stack Blueprints. And a very common way for people to try to go for Nanith is to have a Burglar, multiple Brainstorms, and multiple Blueprints, and they get to, I think it's like ante 27, and find a Serpent. Once you do find a Serpent, you use all 15 of those extra hands that you just got from the Burglar to get as many cards out of your deck. With the Serpent, you play 1 card, and the Serpent draws you 3 cards, so you're +2 card every time. You get as many cards out of your deck, and then you have Red Steel Kings with Mimes and Barons that, because Burglar gave you so many hands, you can actually get a big enough hand side, you can hit Nanith earlier than if you could in a lot of other ways. And yeah, this is a really powerful combination that, while you can use it in a regular gold stake run, it's obviously most powerful in these Nanith attempts. That being said, though, it's still good. right? When you do have, because of the way that Burglar because of the way that Blueprint and Brainstorm work, because Burglar says when blind is selected, you can move it away right after you select the blind. So this is just like one of those things where Blueprint and Brainstorm get a lot of value from cycling through your different jokers. And the value of Burglar is an additional 3 hands, so additional $3. Oh boy. It's so nice. It's truly one of the best combos in the game. In my opinion, I think it's an incredibly powerful combo, and the fact that I mean, and the reasons I've listed, right? It's great for scoring because you have more hands. It's great for money generation because you get more hands, which can, either give you more money. Like, say you do have a gold ticket Hangy Chad, right? That'll give you a lot of money. Or just the hands themselves turn into money. Burglar's just a solid money joker in general because of that. I love this game. I love these combinations that are just so nice on paper. Another really fun combo I wanted to talk about is Driver's License and Marble Joker. So, although this isn't like an explicit synergy, using Marble Joker to fill your deck with stone cards to turn on Driver's License is actually really cool. Driver's License, of course, gets ×3 molt if you have at least 16 enhanced cards in your deck, and Marble Joker adds 1 stone card to the deck when blind is selected. So, you'll probably get like 7-8 stone cards, which is halfway enough to fill out your Driver's License before, you want to get rid of the Marble Joker, but that on its own is good. Stone cards, of course, give plus 50 chips, which if you have any little bit of flat molt, those plus 50 chips towards the ×3 molt of Driver's License actually combines incredibly well. There's other jokers that do synergize very well with these as well, like you could use Hallucination. I mean, realistically, just way better than Driver's License to use Hallucination, but if you do add a Hallucination, it's really useful there. You could add a Stone Joker, which gets even more chips to combine with the X-Molt of Driver's License. And guys, like I said, I just wanted to talk about cool synergies that I've found and not really, or that I've used and people haven't really talked about. I've used this a handful of times to varying success. Marble Joker, while it can be very powerful, it's most powerful when you have a hologram, obviously, and if you don't really have a hologram, it's not the best joker in the game. It's not top half of all jokers. When you do get that hologram, it does become incredibly powerful. And that does make the Driver's License a little bit worse, I will admit it. But literally last night, I played a run, I got a Marble Joker on ante 2, I got a Driver's License on ante 4, I had already put a bunch of stone cards in my deck, and it was heaven. It was beautiful. It was so gorgeous. Basically what I did is I played 3 of a kind, and I would just play 2 stone cards the entire time. I cut down my deck to, I think it was queens. I just like got a couple enhanced queens. I'm actually, but anyway, I played 3 of a kind. I got, Driver's License online. I had Marble Joker, just had filled it out, and I kept it around because obviously it's cool. It was great. I beat red deck, gold stake with it. Beautiful. I don't know. A big thing about how I like to talk about Balatro is I want to talk about what I like. I talked about what I didn't like for Hearthstone a lot, and I wasn't as happy. But talking about what I do like about Balatro, mainly because there aren't as many bad things just in general, is super nice. And these tiny niche combos that aren't even, like, technically intentional, is just super cool. That being said, though, we're going to talk about an intentional one. You can't go through a video where I'm going to talk about some of my favorite things, and I'm not going to talk about Yorick. Or Mary Andy, I guess. But this is personally one of my favorite combos in the entire game. Yorick, of course, gains ×1 molt every 23 cards discarded, and Mary Andy makes it so you gain +3 discards each round at the cost of -1 hand size. Every single deck in the game, when they get +3 discards, now makes it possible to get ×1 molt on Yorick with just every single round. And while ×1 molt per round isn't the greatest scaling, it's still very solid and very powerful. The main draw of Yorick is the fact that it's powerful and easy to use. So it doesn't cost any money. Hallucination or Constellation or similar jokers would cost a lot of money versus Yorick. It doesn't cost anything. It just costs your discards, which I guess unless you have a freaking Eternal Burglar like LeBron James there, it's not hard to discard. And once you combine it with Merry Andy, the amount of molt that you're getting from your Yorick is exponential. It's times 3 molt per ante, which is greater than, say, like, Madness. Madness is already known for being a very powerful Joker when it gets times 0.5 molt per round, only, I guess, only on, like, the small and big blind. But still, and Madness is already considered a very powerful Joker. So for Yorick to be getting times 1 per round, or times 3 per ante, is insane. This combination, I don't even know what to say anymore. Like, this is... whenever I do get this, it's happened a couple times. I think maybe 2 or 3 times, if I had to guess. But anytime it happens, it's instantly one of my favorite runs I've ever had. Yorick, I'm sorry for gushing over Yorick. It's already one of my favorite Jokers. I just love it. I love the concept. I love the art. He's so simple. And then Merry Andy looks at you with that really, really, really interesting smiling face and lets you know that it's all going to be okay. Having 25 discards is also just useful in general. I didn't know if you guys know this, but if you have a lot of discards, you can make whatever hands you want. So yeah, you can combine it with a lot of purple seals. You can combine it with just a lot of or wanting to get a very good hand like straights. Straights do a lot better when you have a lot of discards, even though you do lose -1 hand size. But straights and Yorick go pretty well together. I'm not a big fan of Yorick and flushes, especially with Merry Andy in general, because it kind of just feels like you're discarding just to discard. You're not really discarding for anything in general, but there's that. That being said, I don't know. I love this combo, and thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me anything down below. What are some, like, really interesting Joker combos that you guys have played with, or you, like, go for often? Like I said before, with like Shoot the Moon and Raise Parking, or Reserve Parking, that's one of my favorite combos in the entire game, and I almost always take it when it's offered to me, even when it's not the best situation. I do it to me. So are there anything like that for you guys? I'd love to hear it down below. My socials are there on screen, or they're down in the description. Join my Discord to talk about Balatro, or if you're interested in Hearthstone, the new expansion was just announced. And yeah, I will see you guys next time. Peace out.